Hey guys, welcome to the stream. So, thank you everyone for coming back for today's lesson. Today is our fifth stream, and we're going to be doing arrays and more referring to looking at some of the things you may commonly see in a Node.js environment, such as exports and whatnot. We'll be using PS as an example for that. Both of these are rather short, so shouldn't be too much. And hey Kai, welcome back to the stream. Glad to see you back, man. And surprise, guys, no assignment this time actually. I decided to give you guys a break and instead write something nice and cool for an assignment. At least I think it's pretty cool. Once we get through day 6 objects, so that's when we really start to get opening stuff up. These, like the next few streams, are really going to start opening things up, and a lot more options will become available to you guys. So yeah, if you're new to the class, welcome. I'm running a multi-day JavaScript teaching stream where I'm going to teach you guys JS, no prior experience whatsoever required. Hey PS Beta Dog, welcome back. Um, this is the link, and it's run on the Discord as well. You can use that to contact me anytime, ask questions at any time, etc. This is day 5. If you have no prior experience whatsoever with anything programming, I highly suggest you start with day 1 and review stuff. There's all sorts of links there too. So yeah, again, thank you for showing up, guys, and we'll go ahead and get started here. Let me go ahead and just head right in, and we will get started with arrays actually now. I know, like it says in our plan schedule here, we do some things you see in PS code, which is the more thing I'm referring to before arrays. But I want to do the arrays part first here since we're doing both in the same stream. None of this should take much time, and there is, again, no assignment today. So feel free to use your extra time to catch up. So, arrays, that's what we're going to start with. So an array is a bit different than what you've already learned. Right now, you guys know basic data types. You know about strings, let stir equal this, and that can contain data like hello Twitch or whatever. You know numbers, like equals 7, and you know how to do math with them. Console.log 7 times 3 or whatever, running math with them. Thank you for the sub, Teverbloom. Oh, and at tier 2 as well. Thank you very much. Um, we have a Discord, and you can get a special role there as well now that you're a sub. So if you're already in there, let me check here. Oh, right, that's you, Anubis. Thank you very much. Let me give you your sub role then, and feel free to poke in the sub channel for a custom color, and Fart or me will get to it later. He's also here, by the way. I forgot to introduce
Hi.
him. He's our,
Oh, and are you recording?
yes,
Good.
I did not forget this time, I swear. But thank you very much for the tier 2 sub. Um, so continuing on, like I said, math. I'm just going to comment that out because I don't want it spamming console. Um, so numbers, math, we know booleans, let bool equal true or whatever. And we know if statements, etc. We know if, else, switch, for, while, do while. We've learned a lot. We also know Git and GitHub. Is that another sub? Thank you, Kai, for the sub. Thank you very much. That's 2 subs in a row. Wow, guys, you're really rocking it today. So, yeah, again, I will also give you that role.
I've made both roles.
Alright, cool. Feel free to poke Fart for your color setup. Um, and if you guys want stream notifications or anything, feel free to poke Fart for that as well, and he will set you up. Git and GitHub. That's what we have so far, and I'm not going to bother typing out if examples and whatnot. Too much typing effort at this point. But that's what we know so far, and right now, most of that is one thing versus another. Thank you for the bits, Digital Heart Princess. I really do appreciate every little thing we can get here. 15 bits goes a long way in the end. All adds up. Welcome to stream, Yash. How's it going? Um, so there's a few things to note here. So most of what you worked with, like these are statements and loops. They're not so much data types, but for the data types, we know these. Ignore the math comment. That's not a data type itself. um, those are basic data type primitive. What we're going to work with here is something a little more complicated. Rather than it just being one thing that you can do something with, it's kind of hard to explain, I suppose. I don't know the proper way to explain it, I suppose. But the best way to call it is an array is like a list. It's a list of data. So you have a list. I'm just going to show you the syntax. So an array is assigned to a variable like anything else. So we're going to call it R, or we'll just call it array. Lowercase array works. Uppercase array is a reserved word, so don't use that. Um, Equal open bracket, close bracket. That's a bracket, so square brackets, not parentheses, not curly braces, those that I just posted in chat for your reference. Of course, it ends with a semicolon. So that is an array. It's currently empty right now, but that's how you create an array at least. Now, an array is a list. It contains data. For now, we're just going to, it can contain really anything. It can contain objects, functions, and all sorts of stuff, but we'll just use the ones we already know. In other words, booleans, numbers, and strings. So that's what we'll put inside of them. To put something in an array, at least when you declare it, there's ways to do it after, though I don't know if we're going to touch on that. I currently have that set for a later class, aka post objects, because yes, you can put arrays in arrays too. I almost forgot to mention that. It's called a multi-dimensional array, and I will be touching on that, but not quite yet. Let's get the basic arrays down first. Um, so for now, we're just going to modify arrays by actually putting things into them here rather than using like push, pop, shift, etc. Those kind of things we'll wait on because I want you guys to learn objects first. So, for example, let's say we wanted to put our stuff in here. So, like you could put my name in one of these, separate with a comma, a number, another string, another string, booleans, whatever. All comma separated entries. You can, like heck, if you wanted to, you could put a combination of strings like hello user number num, another boolean. Like that's valid as well because it's just in this entire thing between the commas. That's its own entry. So this is a pretty long list now. Well, maybe not pretty long, but yeah, it's a list, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items. And wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I counted the num as something separate. It's separate 7 items. So yeah, cool. You have a list. What the heck can you do with it? That's the next thing. So firstly, each you can access elements in an array. So um, if we wanted to, for example, log something from an array, we would do the name of the array variable, and then as after that, you put a square brace and then the number you want to access. So like array1 would log one of these values, but here's the trick here actually. You would think array1 would log the first value like this. It's actually the second value. Why? Arrays are zero indexed like a lot of things in JavaScript. So array 0 refers to Ho and Hero. Array 1 is 77. Array 2 would be hello Twitch. Array 3 would be you guys are awesome, etc. So yeah, that's something you must remember when working with arrays if you're and it all ends one before. So like this last one is array 6. The length of the array 7 is not a value of it. I'll also teach you guys how to get the length of an array or a string as well because it's the exact same syntax as a bonus. um, so if you wanted to get the value of that, that's what you use. So for example, let's go ahead and run this and see what array O returns just so you guys can see. And I will actually, I can't do that. Okay, hold on. Let me go into my OBS editor and shift this terminal over. There we go. Okay, it's now on the other side now. Um, so what I'm going to do is first I gotta, cd as usual every day. Projects, it doesn't like me, cd ps.js class, and done. So it's in here. So we're gonna run arrays.js. It's arrays with an S, right? Yes. So running that, Ho and Hero. So it logged Ho and Hero to the console. And if you look at our code here, like you can see it even with the terminal up, the first element in our array is Ho and Hero. We logged array O. So that's 0 indexed. And if we changed this to like array 3, or let's make it 4 actually. Yeah, let's do 3. Um, and run that. It says you guys are awesomes because that's the fourth element in the array. It's a bit cut off, but it is there. That is technically the fourth element, which means the third index. So any questions on arrays so far? Creating them, placing things in them, what you can put in them, accessing elements in them, the 0 index concept. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no, but I know there is a stream delay, so please let me know if I do miss your question or anything. So I'm going to continue on then. So we know our 0 index and whatnot. It's a bit of info and whatnot. So now I want to teach you guys how to loop through an array. So you can use a for loop to loop through the contents of an array to manipulate each value of it. So let's make one called numbers, and I'm going to fill it with some numbers. Thank you for the follow, Hunted900. Welcome to the stream as well. I think this is your first time there. Hey, Super Mario Fanism, welcome back. I'm just going to put some random 3-digit numbers in here. Yeah, that should be enough. I don't even know how many elements are in here. It doesn't matter. I'll do one more, actually. There we go. Cool. So we want to loop, let's say we want to loop through all these numbers and multiply them by 1,000 or whatever, something like that. Well, you might be wondering, how do I loop through an array? Oh, I have to look at the array, say this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 elements, and then loop through up till 8 or whatever. No, there's a better way to do it. So we're going to create a loop. So of course we have our usual syntax. So first we need to declare a variable. So we're going to declare a variable called I and set it to 0. Why 0? 0 is the first index of an array. We're looping from the start to the end. I'll show you guys how to loop from the end to the start next if you want. So that's why we start at 0. We want I to be the value of the array we access specifically. So we'll do numbers I when we access this information. So like it would be numbers I, and that would represent whatever number we're currently looping through. So at first it would be 435, then 349, then 340, and so forth. So that's that. So now we need our control statement. When do we need to stop? Well, we want to stop when we reach the end of the array. So right now it has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you could say I is less than 8, which is technically correct. And you want to do less than the length because it goes through 7 with the 0 index concept. Remember. However, there's a better way to do this. This works if you know the length of the array, but a lot of times you may not know how long your array is. So instead, there's a nifty thing that allows you to get the length of any array, which returns, like in this case, it will return 8. It returns one more than the value. It contains how many are in there, not the last index values. So that's called numbers. So the name of your array, your numbers in this case, dot length. So I is less than numbers dot length. Dot length will return the number of items in an array. So it won't return 7, which is the index of 498, the last item in this array. It'll return 8 because there's 8 in the array, 8 items. And then each time we want to increase I by 1, so we go to the next item. So it's that simple here. That's a standard loop through an array for loop. Um, hi and bye, Shads. Thank you for showing up. Um, what did? All right. Continuing. So that's the core idea here. So let's say with numbers, we want to modify the value of numbers so that each number is increased by, I don't know, let's multiply them all by 10 or something. Sure, why not? So to do that, to modify a value of an array, you do the name of the array, numbers, the value you want to modify, I, because in this case it's going to loop through, and then an equal sign, whatever you want. So if we wanted to set them all to true, we do this, and it would set the entire array to true. However, here we want to multiply each value by 10, so we use our nifty multiply equal value and set it to 10 that we taught during the math and variables things during our basic data types class. If you guys don't remember about the plus equal, multiply equal, etc., I can re-explain that quickly. Just feel free to ask. Give me a sec. I have a PM in another language that I need to translate real quick. It's not related to this stream. All right. Let's see. Anyone have a question? No. Okay. Cool. So in this case, it would take each number, multiply it by 10, which would in the end just add a 0 to the end of all these, which is fine. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and run it. And, oh, right, I have to log it. Hold on. At the end of this, we're just going to add a console.log numbers to log the array. And run again. So as you can see at the end there, it logged the array to the console. So now it's all multiplied by 10. Modified each value of the array to multiply it by 10. Thanks, Yash, for the 100 bits. Jeez, yeah, you're going to scare me to death, man. Uh, I appreciate it, though. Um, so any questions on modifying the values of an array, looping through an array with a for loop, anything like that? Ugh, thing was not sorry, I have to fix something really quickly that's not cooperating with me for some reason, so feel free to post a question while we wait. Okay, there it goes. I'm taking that as a no. Alright, cool. So that was that part of arrays. There's a lot more to it, of course, still. Some of it we won't get into today. Next up, I'm going to show you another way to loop through an array. So with these, there's another type way to loop through. It's two other for loops, actually, that I didn't get to yet because they weren't relevant yet. They're for in and for of loops. For in we will be learning during objects because you use them on those. And since we're not there yet, we won't discuss them today. However, we will discuss a for of loop because you can use them on arrays. So syntax here is for let variable. So we're going to call it, I'm just going to call it n because I already declared num at the top, of array. That's the syntax. So yes, you can use for of to loop through other things. I don't remember exactly the rules for looping through things, so I will look that up when we get closer to maps, sets, and whatnot. But for now, that's your syntax. What this does basically is it loops through your array numbers, and n will be equivalent to whatever value you're currently working on. So, for example, let's say we want to bring this array back to normal with a divide equal 10. That should work, I believe, unless I'm going crazy or something. This should return our array to normal, and I did log it. Yes, good. I logged it this time. No, right, that doesn't modify, but yeah. So what you use one of these for is if you want to access each value, you don't care about the original array and its indexes, you don't want to modify, you want to do something with this. So like, let's say we just wanted to log the numbers instead of modifying them. Then we could use this and say console.log the value, the I don't know, the number is, and then n. Just literally that. Well, that would work. That would be fine. And as you can see, it logs all of those to the console, and I somehow managed to do that. Sorry. Um, so yeah, that's pretty simple there. You cannot modify the original array without its index. You could, in theory, just do like a different thing that we won't learn today to do that, but in general, nope. So any questions on for of and arrays? Okay. I believe that just about covers it for now. I do want to also point out that a string can have a length value. So because we already went over it with arrays, that is a thing too. So like as you can see there, it returned 12. The length of Hello Twitch is 12 characters. It includes spaces. Think you could explain how to effectively search a number or string in an array? Yeah. I'm not sure I understand why the for of works, like how to code it, but I'm not sure why it does what it does. Okay, so you're not sure why it does what it does. So I'll explain the for of, then I'll show how to search for something in a string array, not including index of or whatever, because we're not up to that point, but I will do that, so that's a good idea. So Digital Heart Princess. So why the for of works? Like I got how to code it, but I'm not sure what it does. Okay, so what you're doing here is you're declaring a variable, which we're calling n here, and that variable is set to whatever value of the array we're currently looped through. So it starts with the first value of numbers. So that is 4,350, because remember this array numbers, let me just get the terminal out of the way for now. This array was multiplied by 10 to add a 0 at the end. So like it's this now, all of these were. So this first number is the first one n is, so it loops through in that order. So then it'll move to the next one and so forth. Um, it basically is short for something along the lines, like let's say instead of doing this, let's say we just did let n equal numbers I. It's short for having that in the start of your for loop. Um, Someone just pinged me with what I'm pretty. Fart, can you check what that was in lobby?
Sure.
Um,
Great job on the news post. Your grammar is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's sarcastic, and whoever wrote the post screwed up somewhere. Now they're blaming me. Um, Anyways, but it's basically shorthand for that. Let n equal numbers I. So you do, because of that, and you don't have an index value because of that. You could, in theory, get one. I don't remember the syntax or get one. I think it's, and like it would be n I, something along those lines. I think that's valid to get an index as well as that. Let me double check that works. Let me just log I before I tell you guys something that's wrong. Yeah, that's not valid. Nope, so ignore what I just said about the other thing, but Yeah, basically it's shorthand for setting n equal to that so you don't have to access number as I, which can be useful if you're doing quite a bit of modifications to whatever that value is contained in the value you created. So, um, does that clear it up, Digital Heart Princess, at all? Okay. I assume they're going to type something up, so we'll give them a sec to do so. And I'm going to check something real quick. Alright. But continuing on then, so I'm gonna assume it's covered for now. Nope, okay. That did help a bit. I think what will really get through to me more than anything is practice, so don't worry about me for now. If you want to try to write a for of loop, like try to write something with it, I don't have any assignments planned right now. We'll get to those soon. Potentially fart, you could do something simple for of for them. Like,
I can give something a try.
yeah, I'd like to try something very basic that only goes over this stuff. So, um, effectively search a number, string, and array. And there was one other thing that I wanted to do. Right, one other thing that I wanted to do, I almost forgot. I want to show you guys how to loop backwards through an array real quick. Basically, it's the same logic, but you want to do it backwards. So you want to let I be equal. So what's the last thing you want to do? You want to start with the last element. That is your last element in your array is going to be one less than the length of your array. So I would set it equal to array dot length minus 1. You can do that. So I equal array dot length minus 1. I is greater than 0 because it's allowed to be 0 because it's 0 index, but it cannot be less than that. And I minus minus. So like that would let you loop through your numbers backwards. Um, that's a standard for loop. So that's simple enough. So, and then on to what Zod asked. Explain how to effectively search a number or string in an array. So yeah, well let's search through this original array I made for a value. So I'm going to show you guys how to search an array. There are certain things like index of, includes, etc. that you could use to search that are really short, but I'm going to show you guys how to do it with a for loop because you guys aren't ready for those yet. So we're going to do for. We're going to loop through the values of the array. Let's do a for of loop. Let value of array. So value contains whatever the current value is. We don't really need to access the index. If we wanted to log the index, let's actually do that. Yeah, let's use a standard loop as a result. Let I equals 0, I is less than array dot length I plus plus, and I typoed that badly. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, so we have our loop. We're looping through arrays. We want to find, let's find hello Twitch. Let's find that string. So let's see if that string's in there. So let's do a little check here. So first thing we want to do is set up our loop, which you already done. Then you want to check as you're looping through each value if that value is the one you're looking for. So that's an if statement. If array I is equal to hello Twitch, new code block. So if it is, then what do we want to do with it? Well, let's log its location, console.log, and let's say hello Twitch found at index, and then the index is I. So there's that. So that would tell us once we find that, and it would keep looping. In this case, we're done looping there, so we could break. In this case, I'm going to break because let's say you just want to find the first one and stop. If you don't break and there's multiple, like let's say there was another one at the end, like let's go and do one down here, then it would run twice if you don't break. It'll tell you multiple times. So it's up to how you want to do it if you only want to find the first one. more efficient this way, while I is less than array.length and found. Yes, that's a way to do it as well. There's plenty of different ways to do these things, honestly. And this is just the first way that comes into my head because I did a lot of standard loops at first rather than while loops. I honestly prefer to encourage people to stay away from whiles, and unless you have a condition that will guaranteed to terminate like Zod's does. Like Zod's, you have I is less than array.length. You start it at 0 and you increment I over and over again. I mean, like, and the way you mentioned it as well, you could just use a break once you find it. So, yeah, either way works really. Like in this case, I want to find all of them, so I'm just going to loop through to the end, and that will work. So, obviously it found at index 2 and index 7, and then if I add a break into our if statement, it's going to loop through and only report that it found at 2 because it stopped before 7, just like we talked about with breaks in our last, not last lesson, lesson before that. And of course, like with most things, there's multiple ways to do it. The while loop would work, but I used for one in this situation. And yeah, so, and if you don't find something, you could, in theory, use his setup and modify it so that if found is false, you could say the item was not found in the array or something. So if you don't care, if you don't want a message, if you want something like that, then you could go and use his found equal false. I'm just going to leave it as -1 actually. I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to create a variable called idx index while, and I'm also going to do let I equal 0 while I is less than array.length and idx is -1 if array I is equivalent to not found or whatever because it's not in there. idx, and we're just going to actually shorthand this for idx equal I, and then that should kill it. And before we do that, we also have to do at the end I++, because otherwise you'll have infinite loop. And then console dot, and then if idx is less than 0, you could also do something else. You could also do like idx is less than 0 or whatever you want to do with that. But yeah, we'll do idx is less than 0 if console.log not found was not found in the array, else console.log not found was found at index I dx actually. Um, yeah. Really, you were told it was a bad habit. Actually, I don't consider it to be a bad habit to use it. Um, I don't know, maybe that was your project setup or whatever. Everyone comes from their different setups and ways they learn it, I suppose. But yeah, there you go. Hello Twitch found at index 2, not found was not found in the array. So, any questions on what we've gone over here? Alright, I'm going to take that as a no. There's always, of course, stream latency, so feel free to keep typing if you do. I am keeping an eye on chat. So that just about covers arrays for now. There will be more later with things like shift, unshift, pop, etc. Index of, all sorts of unique things you can do with it when we get to prototypes. But that'll be after objects, functions, methods. So yeah, okay. In this case, we're going to start doing our next thing, which is we're going to look into some of the things you see in a Node.js environment, and only some. Specifically, we're going to look at Showdown, so um, let's go ahead and pull that up. So the idea of this little segment here is to give you guys a basic idea of what you'll encounter to help you navigate the code for the Showdown simulator so you could start doing some basic contributions. I know some of you have been excited to do that, and we'll give you a chance to do that. So one of the first things I do want to show you guys is exporting things from files and requiring things from files. It's something you will see. So like let's head into index.js, the main file that starts it. Main app file you should be using to start Showdown if you're using it normally. So this has a number of requires. Specifically, these are saying require this file. So like global.rooms equal require rooms. So you guys don't know objects and functions or whatnot yet, so I can't explain this in detail. But the idea is this requires something from the file rooms, and it doesn't need the extension on it at least, but it's a JS or TS file, one or the other. I'll explain TS in a sec as well. Um, and I will show you what that was as an example. So this is the rooms file, the file it was requiring. Where is my thing? So, okay, yeah. Down here, module.exports equals rooms. Rooms happens to be a very large piece of data containing a lot of code and other things, which contains objects and functions and classes and all sorts of things you guys don't know yet. But the idea here is that when it's set to module.exports, when some of the file is required in index.js or anywhere else, it pulls this data in. So it's getting that data and using it. So that's the idea, at least. It's probably confusing for you guys. I'm sure you guys are a bit confused, but that's all you really need to garner from this right now, that the files are interlinked. They're not all standalone. I'm sure you guys could logically infer that, but yeah. So that's that idea there. Does anyone have a question on that? Because I'm sure some of you guys might. I can't go into too much detail on it, unfortunately, till I get you guys into objects and functions and methods and probably classes too, to be honest. Alright. Okay, I don't see anything for now. Feel free to post if you do have something. Let's see. Alright. We're going to explain another thing here. So, actually, why is this show so little? I don't know why this is so much, but it's quite a bit more than this. We are JavaScript and something called Typescript. Um, Typescript is basically a version of JavaScript, I suppose you could call it. It's not directly maintained by the same people who do JavaScript, but it's basically JavaScript but more strict in typings, more like Java or whatever. So, like with anything you might do here, you can have you could write with normal Java, which is like x equal 5, and like I want to make x equal whatever this is, a string, something. You can do that. JavaScript lets you change types of variables whenever you want. That can cause issues though. So, for example, remember how I said if you try to multiply a string by a number or whatever, you get nan? Well, potentially that happens. Like, let's say somebody accidentally passes a string to something that should be used for math, and you end up with nan, and that could break something. Like, that's not expected. TypeScript helps fix this. TypeScript basically says, okay, you made X a number. You get an error when setting things up if you try to change X to a string or something. Basically, everything has to be of one type. Your variable can only be a number, or it can only be a string, it can only be whatever. And that's not a bad thing at all. Also, same thing with arrays. Arrays can only be whatever you specify them as. So like this mess of an array up here is technically legal, but you'd have to declare it as an array containing strings, numbers, and booleans, when it's honestly better to just have one of them. It wasn't me, but thank you. Um, So that's the idea of TypeScript. Very basically, I still need to learn it myself. If you scroll down on my stream page, you'll see I'm still learning this, just starting. So yeah, most of the TypeScript stuff I've messed with right now have been through something called JS doc, which more or less is the idea of having these big things that declare um, info in JavaScript files, and TypeScript will validate the JS files themselves. So that's what I've done so far. More or less, TypeScript files end with a .ts, like this .ts. So you'll know they're TypeScript. They're mostly JavaScript. Like, let me see here. Like here, you have a declaration of an array. You have something set to null. You guys know what that is. Forget the this part. You don't know that, unfortunately. But yeah, it's mostly that. So don't be too intimidated if you see it. Um, Hold on, I gotta reply to someone real quick. Alright, continuing on. Any questions on that so far? You should be declaring your types on your variable. Yeah, Hypnotoad, that is correct for a TypeScript file. For a JavaScript file, however, that is a syntax error. That is what I was showing in the Mafia.js. That is a .js JavaScript file still. It has not been ported to TypeScript. We're kind of like part way through a huge refactor. So, yeah. I'm not going to teach you guys how to create TypeScript files or what, because I am not in any position to teach you guys, because I am still very new to TypeScript files myself. Like, really, what Hypnotoad posted is really all I know about TypeScript syntax right now. So, something I need to learn, and soon. I just haven't had time lately. Um, Hence why I'm not going to teach you guys. But I will give you the rundown like I said I did. So, anyone else have something to say about it? Questions, comments, concerns? Ho, and why haven't you learned this yet? Ho, and why haven't you learned this yet? Feel free to link that Hypnotoad. I may look at it after the stream. I would appreciate that, actually. Okay, so I'm gonna drop on into our next thing. So one other thing that you may find confusing here is the concept of subprocesses. I'm not going to go into this too much because it's pretty nuts, but where was I going, right? Mod log. Okay. When you run node whatever file, you're starting a process. So a process on your computer. So it's executing the code in that process. You can tell Node to create more child processes, which basically means starting up a new whatever and have it communicate with the main process. So, like, that would mean you cannot access information from that subprocess from the main process unless you communicate with it through a specific way, which is like with mod log. Like, for example, the mod log uses process manager PM and it does all sorts of stuff in a subprocess. So that's, for example, why you cannot go from a chat command and, oh, you're in a battle room? Okay, I'm going to make you, I'm going to take 30 HP from this Pokemon via command or whatever. You cannot do that unless you have the command go through the proper channels. You cannot just access that information from there. Addition to that, if unless something is exported from a file, you cannot access that either. So, like if someone declares a variable called x inside the rooms.js file in the global scope for that file and sets it to 5 or whatever, but does not export it, then you cannot check the value of x outside of the rooms file. Scoping is quite a topic that I need to go over, honestly. So, I might take a crack at that here since we got plenty of time. Um, but that just about covers what I wanted to generally go over. It can be quite confusing, I know. Um, so any questions so far? And then I think I'm going to take a crack at scope, and then we should just about be done here. Done way early, actually. I don't know if I want to dive into objects because people are already behind, so a smaller stream might be beneficial to give everyone a chance to catch up. All right. Okay, I'm going to take that as no questions. Once again, guys, feel free to ask if you're confused or have questions about anything. I am available exactly for this reason. So I'm going to try to take a crack at scope. Okay, disclaimer, I am bad at terminology and going to do my best at explaining this. If anyone wants to help me out with it, feel free to throw things in the chat. Heck, Fart, you may want to help me out with this one. Basically anything this guy is right is gold. Okay. I will look at that later. But thank you very much for that. Let me just make sure I don't lose that link. Alright, cool. Because, yeah, people who can explain stuff easily, that's amazing, honestly. Fart, why are you testing your bot in chat again?
Well, I wasn't testing. I was showing the loop.
Oh, okay. Are you really behind or something?
A little bit. I was doing something with the cafe.
Alright. Well, we kind of went through all that already. So, scope. This one's a bit tricky. So, we already messed a bit with scope using for loops and let variables, but really, scope is the idea that data only exists within a certain area. And what the heck? Never mind. Um, so, I'm having a horrible time phrasing this. A variable only exists while it's needed. Whatever you want to access is only accessible within its scope. So your base scope is your global scope within your file, basically. We're gonna we're gonna start with a one file scope, so scope within only a single file, and then I'll talk a bit more about scope on like a multi-file project like Showdown. So the global scope is basically it can be accessed anywhere. So like if we do let y equal 8, y is a global variable because anything declared at the base of the file can be accessed anywhere in the file after it's been declared. So it can be accessed from here forward, but not backwards. String can be accessed from here forward. Array from here forward, etc. I mean, you know about the forward facing it must be declared before it can be used thing about variables. Scope comes in with things like using let within a loop. So This also goes into the difference between let and var. So there's let uses block scope, more or less within a code block. So like when we declare let I equals 0, you notice how we did let I, let I, let I. We've redeclared I multiple times in this file. That's because its scope is inside of here, inside these parentheses. Well, the scope is in here, the highlighted area. I can use I within this area, but not outside of it. If I tried to use I down here, it would error. Of course, we redeclare I here for other purposes, and it's now global, so we couldn't use it again as in the loop, at least not declare it again. But what we're looking at is here. So that's block scope. It exists within this for loop. Another type of scope is function scope. You've seen one function within one of the example assignments I've given you guys, the focus miss test, and I will pull that up to just give you guys a really basic example of it, just focusing on the scope part. So I wrote this to give you guys something to work with. The idea here is that if you declare that this accuracy variable or anything else you declare with it is scoped within only this function. And in addition, it's like a whole new scope. It has access to global variables, and that's it. So if we had a global variable out here like let y equals 0, whatever, we'd be able to access y within this. However, we like over here we have, say we had let z equal 4. Z is undefined in here. Z does not exist in the highlighted area. It's like a new scope. It only accesses the global and the things within it. So there's that. That's the idea. At least it can be tricky to understand. I think the example I gave the last person I did on a one-on-one was some kind of weird building blocks example that I don't even remember, and I'm thinking, why did I explain it that way now? Um, I will dive back into scope further when we hit objects and methods and functions. That's when I can really dig into it. So yeah, if you guys do, I'm sure you guys probably have questions about it. Feel free to throw them at me, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. So go ahead and throw them at me now. And I will try to ignore the 10,000 PMs I have on Showdown for other random reasons.
So if you set a variable in one function, you can't use it in another.
Say again.
So if you have a variable and you set it in one function, you can't access it from another function.
Hmm. So like if run move called another function, you wouldn't be able to. Let's say like I said, let's say you declared, I don't know, let's say you declared z inside run move, and then run moved called another function called, I don't know, check hit or whatever for some reason. Inside check hit, you would not be able to access z. It's its own scope. It's anything within that function or declared within there, and then the globals.
So in that while loop, let's say you ran, let's say you used run move,
Hmm.
and then you have accuracy as 70. In that while loop, that's not in the function. Can you get accuracy?
You cannot access accuracy within that while loop. Accuracy is an argument. It's only accessible within that function. You can only access it by that. But like let's say z was declared within this function. Let's say for example you had let z equal 5 in here. You wouldn't be able to access z within here either. Like z would not be defined anywhere within this while loop. Thank you for the 100 bits, Yash. But does that answer your question, Fart?
I hope so.
I hope so. Um,
Well,
what is
well, I mean, it was a question that I was hoping would answer some people's question. I knew the answer.
okay? Good, because I'm thinking, why is Fart asking this? But Yeah, it's a little complicated. It's dived a little more into functions than I'd like. If you guys don't completely understand it and you asking questions doesn't help, um, yeah, we'll get to scope again when we hit functions and methods, which will be a rather big list. And okay, someone just asked, when I see different solutions for Ho and Heroes assignments, I wonder what other people submitted and what solution would be preferred. So that's really a lot of it. Like, I'm not going to be too picky about what you guys submit. I'm hoping you guys just get the concepts down, really. Especially if you show something more complicated, then I know you're getting the concepts. It depends on what it is, really. A lot of it's up to preference. Really, it's more or less like as long as you avoid some of the things like don't use loose equals, don't you make sure your code is indented and readable, and some other things are discouraged overall, but I don't know them all honestly, so I'm mostly fine with anything. Everyone has their own way to code it, and looking at each other's ways to do it just shows you that when programming, there's many different ways to solve each problem, and none of them are inherently wrong. Almost none of them. Wrong in the sense that it would be better to do it a different way, sure, but yeah. So I don't necessarily prefer anything. Some people have done it in a more condensed way, though I do encourage like not just trying to make your code super ultra complicated to make it super ultra short, but focus on readability as well. But not so spread out that it's excessively long. It's a balance to strike, and honestly, it's something that's not always easy to find. So, any further questions? Would you ever share other ways of doing the same thing so we can learn from each other? If you mean like all of you guys share each other's assignments, feel free to like post. A day's four assignment was the Git repo. Post that in student general, or I could, if you guys want me to, I can make a channel for that under the student tab, and guys could share your solution repositories. And from that point, just look at each other and say, "Hey, that's an interesting way to do it. How does that work?" And start talking about that, or however you guys want to handle it. You know. So yeah, I hope that does answer that question. And let's see, is there anything else coming in here? I do not think so. Okay, cool. So I think that about covers most things. So assignments for today, none actually. And I'd show the solution for day four's assignment, but quite literally, I kind of showed you guys how to do it on stream already. Um, this image might help if anyone's still lost on scope. Okay, yeah. Potentially not. That's might be too confusing for us without functions, so I'm not going to show it right now. Keep a hold on that for later, though.
Okay.
Um, However, while I don't have any direct assignments, thank you for the follow, Zod, and thank you for the help earlier too. I appreciate that. Um, I don't have any direct assignments for you guys today. However, I do have something else for you guys that's probably better. I have your first opportunity to contribute to Showdown, like actually code something for Showdown. I'm not kidding you. So, I'm going to pull these up. Give me just a moment. I have three things that can be done, which means only three of you can do these. Unfortunately, I don't have infinite. Um, they're very simple changes. All just, I want some text changed wherever changes. So very, very, very basic. And now that you guys know at least a little information, you can do that. So the first one is an update to the intro command. So Intro is a command shown to users on Showdown when they first. It's one of the commands they can use to get basic information about the site. It contains information links such as what do OUUU, etc. mean, and what are rules for each format, what is sleep clause, etc. One of them wants the link changed. The other one wants one of the links split into two links and then changed. You'll need a bit of HTML knowledge, just the idea of how a link works, an A tag, A href equals link. Um, to do this, you'll obviously need to use Git and GitHub, just like we taught yesterday. You'll need to fork Showdown, clone Showdown, set up your local, make your changes on a branch, push to that branch on your repo, make a pull request. I would be happy to review your pull request for you as well and help you out through that. Um, the second change, or well, the third change, because the intro thing is actually two different changes, that might just be one thing at once, or you could split it and one person could change one link and one person could do the split of the other link, just so everyone has a chance to do this, or as many people as possible, really. Um, there is a typo somewhere. It's literally just fixing a typo, but yeah, there was reports posted in the bug reports thread, and I caught it before anyone grabbed it and reserved it for you guys. I have a few other things brewing, but you're not quite ready for it, and they're actually not ready yet because, yeah, one of them, some staff are still working on filling it out. So yeah, I will go ahead and move these into the Help Wanted channel once we finish our stream here. So if you're interested, feel free to grab it and I can sit through with you guys. You remember seeing what Super Mario Fanism? The image or me claiming something in the bug reports thread? Oh, and if you're someone from Showdown and you know anything that needs to be fixed, whether it's a typo or whatever, please let me know. I will assign it to these guys. They're ready to get started with stuff. The more stuff we have them to do, the better.
I know
Um,
something that we could possibly do.
okay, cool. You want to talk about it here on stream or after?
It's gonna have to wait until we go over functions, and
Yeah, I got
right now
some
they're
things too, potentially. But yeah, other things that need to be waited. But yeah, right now there's very limited things, but we're working on brewing some more stuff up for you guys once you get through really objects, functions, a lot of things. Things will really open up in a couple days, guys. So keep working at it. PM from far, excuse me. Oh. Oh, okay, yeah, I see that. Oh my word. What is the CE command anyways?
cross evolution.
Okay, yeah, that needs to handle floating point decimals better. Claiming that typo fix. I'm working on a mechanics bug right now. Super Mario Fanism, if you're like more advanced and already know about how to do the most basic changes and such, I would suggest leaving that to someone who has never done anything before if you already have something you're working on. Just so the people who have not gotten to touch with this get a chance to. I only have technically, I guess, three if I split that one up, otherwise two, so yeah. If, yeah. Mm. Okay, I misread it. My bad, my bad. I thought you were claiming it. My bad. Okay, so cool. I think that mostly covers that for now. Okay, yeah, I'll move stuff into Help Wanted once the stream ends. So feel free to hop in there when we're done. In the meantime, I think that covers everything. Does anyone have a question at all so far? Anything you want to ask me now, because now is the time to do it. We got some time, otherwise we're probably gonna go raid the heck out of someone. Let's see here. Let's see here. I don't see any comments there. I don't see any here. So I'm gonna start looking for something else. So let's look for.
Would you ever share other ways of doing the same thing so we could learn from each other?
Yeah, that was something that was asked earlier, and I did answer. I would highly suggest once you guys finish day 4, or even before, just posting what you guys do in the student general/general chats. I'm open to adding a channel for that as well, so that we can share this stuff more and everyone can look around and maybe learn something.
You're gonna have to ban me from it.
Oh my God. No, well, if you go in and you do what you did with Days two's assignment, where you make your solution quite literally a salted hash, yeah, I'm not gonna let you do
It
that.
was it wasn't a salted hash.
One of them
It
was.
was no, it was base 64.
Well, that's way over. That's way too complicated for doing math in JavaScript. Literally, you just base 64 the solution string, then decrypt it. Oh my God, what the heck? That is nuts. Okay. If you
Well,
want to
my favorite
submit
my
like a
my
legitimate thing, go for it, but like don't overcomplicate it, man. You know?
my my favorite is still the one where it does an HTTP request
You take
and
an
file.
HTTP request to get the solution to a math problem. Oh my God. Who the heck does that? Okay. Um, Let me look at this channel real quick. I think this will be good.
I gotta fix the camera first.
Yeah, let's go ahead and give this guy a shot. We'll give this channel a shot. It looks like he's programming a game. So, before we go ahead and do that, thank you guys for watching today. It was a rather short stream compared to our normal ones, but that's not too bad considering everyone needs a chance to catch up. If you want to see more of the class and don't know about it, this is the information link. Sorry, Kai, I don't really have anything more for today. I don't want to dive into objects because that would take too long. Um, this is the Discord link also. Um, Thank you very much for the sub today for Teverbloom and from Chaotic Kai. I really do appreciate that, and the bits from Yash and Digital Heart Princess. Every bit counts, so thank you very much for all of that today. Um, if you want to be notified, two ways: either follow me and turn on notifications on Twitch, and or join the Discord and ask for the stream notifications role. Ask for the student role if you want to participate in the class. All the information is in that document that I linked. So with that, I believe we're going to get started with this raid. So thank you very much, guys. Let's get this started here. Let me type this guy's name into my raid box. We'll give this guy a shot. I like trading people from science technology that I don't know about. So everyone in, everyone in.
A little
Alright,
bit
so
smaller.
thank you again, guys, and we will see you guys
Nothing's
later.
floating. I gotta keep checking the
Bye,
spawn
guys.
point.